watching CramerSez.
Welcome. My name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez podcast. We are live. It's CramerSez Live. Welcome to the show. I was on earlier tonight with Charles Bookwalter. He's running for Congress in Indiana's 4th District. And if you didn't get to catch that, you might want to go watch that broadcast. You can't get it here on Instagram. I think it's going to be everywhere else but Instagram. But it's interesting. The reason he's running is because the other guys aren't doing their job. Folks, we're seeing that across the country. That's why a ton of these Republicans have dropped out of the races. We had 3 in Indiana. I think there's 20-some total across the country that have dropped out of races because they see what's coming in 2024 and they don't want to be a part of it. They don't want to be around when what's going to happen happens. They see where the nation is headed. Mike Pence's brother, Greg Pence, dropped out. Bouchon, I believe, dropped out. I can't remember who the other one was, but that's happening across the nation for a very specific reason. We are in for dark times, dark days in this nation. That's not hyperbolic. That's not me just saying that to saying it. I'm not saying it for clicks. You can see it happening on a daily basis. Kansas City, what happened there? That story's going to disappear, folks. Why? Because they can't have that narrative out there. That wasn't an NRA member. That wasn't a MAGA member. That wasn't those 2 men that were arrested for shooting into the crowd. They weren't the typical usual suspects of mass shootings, were they? Or are they? Because what we've seen here in the last few months, folks, is that we keep getting lit up by trans activists that are upset. The last 5 or 6 shootings, I saw a graph today that showcased that very well. You've got to get involved, and that's why Charles Bookwalter is doing what he's doing. He realized back in 2020 that these people that said in their TV commercials and so on that they would go to fight for us, that they're not. They won't. They haven't. And we need more people in there like Matt Gaetz that's racing hell. Listen, I don't agree with everything that Marjorie Taylor Greene does, but at least she's fighting. Lauren Boebert, same thing. She got felt up in a theater. She shouldn't have done that shit. Hopefully she's learned her lesson. Those are called life lessons, by the way. And we can move on, but we need people who have the ability to stand up and say no to authority. Now, with all that being said, let me get some house cleaning out of the way real quick. If you haven't gone over to CramerSez.com and picked yourself up a free account, a free social media account over there, go do it right now, CramerSez.com. It's a Facebook-like experience for everybody, but the majority of people there are conservatives with awesome fucking memes. I got to say it out loud. They've got some awesome... That's where I get the majority of memes that I share, is I get them from CramerSez.com. So if you want to go check it out, do it right now for free, CramerSez.com. You can also help us out with purchasing shirts. We don't take the money for us. It's not for us. We don't go vacation on it. It's not to flitter around here and there. We set up this program at CramerSez.shop, CramerSez, CramerSez.shop, to help out the members of the J6 families, the detainees, their families, and so on, their legal fees, commissary fees, and that kind of stuff. And so you can go help out, get yourself a T-shirt, and all of the proceeds, 100%, go to the J6 detainees. With that being said, we have a very special guest here tonight. She has a brand new account on Twitter. Her name is Mrs. CramerSez. Welcome to the show, Mrs. CramerSez.
Hello.
Oh, I don't have your mic up. There we go. Now let's hear you.
Hello, and happy day after Valentine's Day.
Yeah, happy belated Valentine's. We were going to do this yesterday and couldn't quite get it done technically, and so we kind of jerry-rigged it tonight to get it taken care of. So the second time Mrs. CramerSez has been on the show, she was on last week, and she didn't want to be on camera, and then one of her friends talked her into going on camera. So welcome to the world, Mrs. CramerSez. Do you have anything on your mind that you want to share with us this evening?
Well, I actually just wanted to do it because I thought it would be fun. I watch you get excited. It's infectious. So I just wanted to participate. We have these discussions back and forth, like I'm sure most people do in their households with their husbands and wives, kids, whoever. Or if you're not having the conversation, you need to. But we battle, Tim and I, or CramerSez, sometimes might have a little bit of different take on something than I do. And sometimes he'll listen to me. Sometimes I'll say something that he's like, well, I didn't think of it that way. And I do the same with him.
Well, I'm sure that happens in all relationships, right? In every household,
Absolutely.
You're having conversations, you're talking to your husband, your wife, your significant other, whatever, and sometimes you agree on everything, and then sometimes there's that disagreement. And what's interesting is that when I first started down this path, when I first started really putting my neck on the line, and I told her, I said, listen, I said, we've got an issue in this nation. We've got to get this fixed. And I said, I can't go back to doing what I was doing. There was a little bit of pushback, especially in 2020 when she didn't quite understand what was going on. And she hadn't fully grasped what I was trying to tell her.
Absolutely.
And it took me being consistent and resolute and saying, this is the right thing to do. We're on the right side of history. These people trying to dictate what we do with our lives and our bodies cannot be allowed to retain their power.
Yep.
Remain in power. We've got to get them out of power. And I want to do it peacefully. What happened with you, Mrs. CramerSez, when what moment did you realize that it was really serious? COVID kind of woke you up to things are bad, but what got you to the point where it's really serious?
Absolutely woke me up. It was the 2 weeks that turned into never ending. That was when it was, okay, they're messing with us. They have to be. That, and like I think I said before, you don't have to have a college degree. You don't have to have a medical degree. Go to school, you study basic science, and you understand, especially if you're a mom and you deal with sick kids and going to the doctor. Kids have viruses. They have, you deal with that stuff with your kids all the time. It made no sense. And anybody that tried to explain it from the government never could explain it to me where it made any sense. So I just started putting things together. You, of course, just kept informing me of the things you were learning. And of course, we weren't getting accurate information from the media. That made me question even more why we're being told what we're being told, what the purpose is. And I could never wrap my head around that. Why would
they be lying to us? Why would they be misleading us?
After spending my whole life and my parents teaching me to follow the law, to be a good citizen, to be a patriot, said the Pledge of Allegiance before class. I bought into America and the American dream. And now all of a sudden I have these doubts, and they weren't conspiracy theories. They were doubts that I think most Americans that are reasonable and logical, that just want to go to work every day and provide for their family and hopefully be able to go on a vacation every once in a while, all of a sudden that's a big question to get answered, and I never could get it answered. So at that point I was like, I'm in. I totally get that. And the scary part is that I do believe our government is screwing with us. So now it's a matter of, what do we do to change it? And
well, it's a great question, because Kim Lowe here asks from YouTube, well, how do we stop them?
Well, exactly. And it's getting involved. It's CramerSez talked about just wrapping up a digital town hall with Charles Bookwalter. He's an impressive guy. He is a real patriot. He has the same concerns and the same wants for our government and our people. And in our 4th district here in Indiana, where Tim and I live, Tim discovered this guy, and the more we listened to him, the more we got involved with his campaign. He's I guess what it boils down to is, if you want to change anything, you have to get involved.
Well, that's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying on the podcast and the lives for the longest time, is that a machine can't fix itself. It takes a mechanic, some action from outside. to fix the broken gears on the inside. And you are the mechanic. You're the mechanic to the machine. It's your nation. It's not theirs. They call themselves patriots and that they're so concerned. But here we are. We had
Nothing's
a bill
changed.
nothing's changed. They got the border bill going on. They couldn't get the border bill done, but they got money to Ukraine and Israel. They didn't have any problem sending your tax dollars somewhere else. But when you need them here in the United States, what do? They don't give it to you. They give it to everybody else on the planet but you.
Yeah, and we have a tremendous amount of needs and priorities here in the United States that we need to get taken care of. I would encourage.
Let me jump in. Imagine they just authorized another, I think, $98 billion
For Ukraine?
for Ukraine.
Well, 60 going to Ukraine or something like that.
Well,
but yeah.
the issue is that we're paying for there's a program in Ukraine where we're actually paying for their businesses to stay open. You're paying for their businesses to stay open. You're not paying for bombs. You're not paying for ammunition.
Who's going to pay for our businesses to stay open?
We're paying for their businesses to stay open? Putin wants an agreement. He wants to neutralize this. He wants to stop the war. The U.S. and Ukraine say no. Europe says no. Why do you think they're doing that, folks? Is it to benefit you? It is not. And these are the conversations that Mrs. CramerSez and I would have, that where we would talk and I would ask her, in fact, in this voice right here, and she'd get upset with me. Why are you yelling at me? Because you're not getting it. I'm trying to explain it to you. It's not as complex as you think it is.
Yep.
They're evil.
And that's it exactly. The government, it's to their benefit to make this so you think you don't have all the information. Right. So they want you to believe that they know better than you. If you balance your checkbook at home, you pay your bills, you know how money works. There's only so much that comes in and there's so much that goes out. And anymore, there's sometimes more going out than there is coming in. And this can't continue. It's not sustainable.
Well, and the problem is it's not just the money issue of coming in and going out, is that they control the printing presses. Well, they control the printing presses, though, right? So it's not just coming in and going out. The difference is that we can't counterfeit money. They can.
Right.
And when they counterfeit money, it devalues your money.
It affects us.
So when they were sending out all that stimulus money, and you were getting those stimmy checks, and you go, oh, thank God. Every dime of that is going back. We're paying through it. We're paying for it through the devaluation of our currency, because that's how they do it. It's through the devalue. It's not the businesses raping us. That's what the Democrats are wanting you to believe.
That's what they want. The businesses are affected by inflation as well. And if those costs are coming in, now their profit margin is shrinking. Not in all cases. I'm sure the big companies are not allowing their profit margins to shrink.
No, because they're raising the prices of everything.
But most mom and pop companies are their profit margin is shrinking. How long can that be sustainable?
That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is the federal government.
Yes.
The food prices get raised because the inflation, their dollars don't buy as much either, just like yours. So when you go buy the $5 loaf of bread that used to be $2.50, or the $2.50 loaf of bread that used to be 99 cents, when you go buy that, the reason it's more expensive is because, yes, the store has raised their prices, but their costs have gone up just like yours have.
Absolutely.
The trucks that they utilize, their gas prices went up too. They didn't get any savings on that. So when the Democrats tried to say, well, it's those guys over there, they're raising their prices, no, it's because the money has no value.
Yep.
In Venezuela, they were using wheelbarrows worth of money to go buy bread, because that's how devalued the cash is, or was at that time. So when you understand that it's not what they're telling you, blame that person over there. Let me put it this way. If the Federal Reserve didn't have the ability to print money at will, our dollar would still be worth what it was worth in 1913. They've devalued the currency by printing all this money. There's trillions of dollars in currency, of U.S. currency right now. Trillions. They won't let us audit Fort Knox, which holds all the gold backing those trillions. They say that they've got trillions in the bank with gold to back it up. If you've got that, then why do you keep having to devalue the currency?
Right.
If you've got the gold to back it up? If you're telling me that you just printed $1.9 trillion because you had it in reserves? Is that what you want us to believe? That's what they want you to believe, folks. They want you to believe that they've got this money in reserve. It's sitting there, and when they need to print more money, they just, hey, we've got gold here. We might as well print money based. That's not it. That's why the money has no value, because there's nothing backing it. That you've got to look at it from the right perspective. You've got to see it for what it is, as opposed to what they're trying to sell you.
Well, it's not that complicated, and
it's not complicated.
That's the way you're explaining it, because the government doesn't want you to realize that it's that simple.
It's that simple,
right? So they're going to do everything they can to distract from the fact that they're not telling us the truth. Here's the deal: if you want things to change, if you want them the way they are, then go ahead and keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
If you are upset and angry and passionate, like Tim and I are, and I know there are a lot of you out there. Tim has told me about followers that have contacted him, made comments. There are thousands of you out there, if not millions. I'm sure there's millions. You've got to get involved, whatever that means, whether it be, and in fact, the most local, the better. So your town councils, your mayors,
Right.
whatever is in your local community, you need to get involved and hold these people accountable. Get elected, or
Right.
if you don't want to run for office, then find somebody that you can back. Right.
Well, here's the other thing. It's all of those things, but being very vocal. And
absolutely,
not
with your
allowing,
friends, your family,
right? Not allowing these people to silence you into submission like they did on the playground. The bully comes out and tells you you can't talk. Did you just shut up? If you did on the playground, likely you're doing the same thing today. You
Right.
can't do that. Right. Your rights are too important to you. You've got to stand for them. You've got to demand that these people that think that they're in charge are not in charge. We've loaned them this authority. It's for us to pull back. So when people talk about me, I'm violent. That I want I don't want revolution. I don't want anarchy.
No.
I don't want civil war.
No, that's not
I
good
want
for
my
our-
rights back.
That's not good for our country.
No, I want my rights back.
That's the last resort. The government has to start listening to its people. The representatives that we elect to send to Washington, to send to our local cities and towns, you have to hold them accountable.
No.
You cannot sit back and expect that, oh, they're doing what I elected them to do. I'm going to go about my business and raise my family and do all of those things. That's what we've done for decades, and
Right.
this is where we are now. I told my son, I feel somewhat responsible for where we're at today.
Me too.
Because in the course of raising our kids, Tim, and trying to build our business, we obviously took our eye off the ball.
We did.
We took our eye off what government was doing. And at the point at which that we realized, hey, we don't like this. This is not what we wanted. Why we sent you there. I don't want to say it's too late, because it's not. But you've got to get involved. You've
Right.
got to speak up. You've got to talk to your friends and family. I know it's always been. My parents told me the same thing. When you're in a family dinner or you're at a function, what are the things you're not supposed to talk about, Tim? You're not supposed to talk about
Religion and politics.
sex, or religion.
Yep.
Well, you know what? I know religion and politics you definitely have to talk about. Sex, you have to talk about with your kids. You
Right.
have to educate your kids, because the school system thinks they know how to do it better than you.
Right.
And that's what we're finding out, right?
Well, and they're telling you that the kids belong to the state, that they're not even yours.
Exactly.
It's your responsibility to
They're
raise
gonna
them
do a
and
better job.
keep them safe.
Right.
But when it comes to education and everything else, they believe that it's the government's role to educate your children. And Mao thought the same thing. When Mao came in and took over China, it was the youth that he came in and perversed. What he did is he turned them against their parents. He told them
Yep.
that they were the old ones, the old fogies. They didn't know
Just
what
like
was going
COVID.
on.
Turn your parents in. They're not wearing their masks. They
Yep.
didn't get vaccinated. They're going here. They're leaving the house. They're supposed to be locked down. That's insane.
Yep.
That is. I can't even imagine. First of all, our kids would never have done that.
No.
So I think parenting your kids and keeping on top of that and teaching them. Here's the thing. This is a great time in history too to think about it. I had a conversation with my hairdresser back and forth, and she ran for town council in got elected in a little tiny town. She's much younger than us. She's getting involved. She knows everything that goes on in the town. But what I told her I was really proud of her for standing up and taking charge of her town that she loves and adores. She loves this town. But what I also told her was, think about what you're teaching, what your sons are watching their mother do.
Right.
Now, she may not get everything she wants in that town council, right? That's not the point. She's participating, and didn't we learn that in school, that's what your obligation is to, as a citizen of the United States? Aren't you supposed to get involved? Aren't you supposed to do that?
It's important to remember the first few words of the Constitution. What are the first few words of the Constitution? The first three words. The first three words.
The people.
We the people. Doesn't say anything about elected politicians. It doesn't say anything about government. It says we the people.
Means us.
We, you and I, neighbors, we find these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Yeah.
That's what it starts out with, right? Those first few words, we the people. We determine what happens, not them. Not the global elite, not the managerial class that comes in and tells you what kind of stove you can have. Are you fucking kidding me? We've allowed it to get to this point because we haven't stood. And do you know how I know they're scared? January 6th scared the shit out of them.
Absolutely.
They saw the writing on the wall. And so why do you think that we still have men and women in prison from 3 years ago, not tried, they haven't seen a court yet? Why do you think that that's the case? They want to send a fucking message. No different than King George did. No different. And if you don't wake the fuck up and get involved, well, my vote doesn't count. It won't if you don't vote.
Absolutely.
My vote won't do anything. It won't if you don't show up. Guess what? You go vote. This is a great example. In Indiana, you stupid motherfuckers, you complain. I hear you in the streets. I hear you at the store. And then I ask, well, did you vote in the primary? Well, no. The primary vote is where you get to choose the candidates.
Yeah, you choose them.
You choose them.
What's the statistic that you talked about in the digital town hall with Charles earlier? 81% of Hoosiers did not vote in the primary.
80% did not vote in the primary. 80% of Hoosiers do not vote in the primary.
About who your candidate is. I don't understand the logic.
We get the same guys. Yeah, because you're not voting in the goddamn primary where you get the choice to pick the grassroots guy and you can get rid of the incumbent. You want term limits? That's how you fucking do it.
And you know what? Though it's not even about the voting. But if you don't like the candidates that you're being served by your Republican Party or Democrat Party, whatever party you subscribe to, if you don't like those candidates, then go out and find one or run yourself. You cannot complain about a system that you're not willing to participate in.
Yep.
You can, I guess, but you're don't talk to me. Don't talk to CramerSez about it because you're going to get lit up. Go find a candidate you can support. I was so excited, and here's the deal. I have never been a political person. I have voted according to what my parents told me to do when I was when I could first vote. I was in college. I did absentee voting. My parents told me how to vote.
And how did you vote?
I voted Democrat.
Yep.
For several years. And it wasn't until, I shouldn't say several years, into my early 20s. Tim and I got married. Once we started the business, it wasn't until, I don't think we realized what that meant. I didn't realize what that meant until we started the business. And I think CramerSez has told the story before. We got a tax bill from our local township. And that it just became one thing after another. When you're trying to survive in a business, especially a business that's early and new, those bills can kill you.
Right.
So
out of the blue, you just owe this.
Right. So
you didn't know it was coming. You didn't buy anything. You didn't get anything. They didn't give you anything.
So that's I can't remember why we got around to this, other than to say you've got.
Well, it's getting
to
involved.
Fund,
That's what started.
That's how it started. So
I got the tax bill. Well, first of all, Mary wasn't even in the business yet, so Mrs. CramerSez was not even there yet. Right, she was still working.
I was at home. I heard about it.
But no, you were working a full-time job.
Right.
When this first happened.
But I still heard about it.
And
right.
so
so
she wasn't involved in the business on a daily basis. And I come in and I say, hey, listen, I said, we got this $400 bill. So she's the one that tracked it down. And then I got a hold of the lady at the trustee's office. And here's what's interesting. The trustee's office is made up, I don't care where you go in the nation, of families. What I mean by that is Mama is the manager and all her kids work for her.
Pure nepotism.
It's nepotism.
At its finest.
And that's what we're funding.
Yeah.
And then what they do is they determine somebody has a problem. I can't pay my rent. I can't pay my heat. I can't pay my lights. They dole out the money that they've got in this account. That's what the trustee does. It's no different than it's political grifting is what it is. Yeah. Political grifting. And they get their money, their right to come tax me and all the other businesses on items that we've already paid taxes on. That's what's crazy. That's what put me through the roof. It's an inventory tax? Oh, I don't have any inventory. We sell ideas. Yeah, it's all the stuff in your business. Well, what do you mean? Your pens, your pencils, your computers, everything, all the way down.
Well,
everything.
If you remember, Indiana had gotten rid of the inventory tax, so
right.
That's why we were confused.
Right.
Well, they didn't. You can't get rid of a tax. Government can't get rid of a tax and then not replace it with some other thing, because God forbid they're going to cut something.
Right.
So instead, now they call it a business tangible property,
right.
personal property.
It's a long name for hey, we're going to
inventory
fuck you.
tax.
We're going to fuck you.
That's what it is. We got audited for it. I had to have an inventory of freaking paper clips and pencils. They came and walked our building to make sure that we were legitimately, showing our inventory. It's ridiculous.
It's industrial rape is what it is.
Yeah, it's burdensome.
They come in and they tell you you've got to apply. You got to do all of these. Well, let me. I'm going to jump off on a tangent. Government. Well, it's all the same thing. If you don't get involved,
you don't know
this is what happens.
Are. If you don't own a business, you don't understand what these taxes are.
For example, if you watch the Uber documentary, what you find out is that the taxi business in the city of New York, but in the majority of cities, right? It has a group, it has a union, and you had to belong to that union. If you didn't belong to that union, then you couldn't be you couldn't have your tag. You couldn't have your badge and be a taxi car driver. And what it was is it's a group to keep people out, not to protect taxis, is to keep people and competition out. And that's what Uber understood or realized when they started their business. They thought, just like I did, especially when I first started on social media, that, oh, it's free speech. I can say whatever I want. Nope, no, you can't do that. Nope, you got to speak in code. Yeah, you can't say COVID-19 or the jab, or COVID-19, the vaccine. You got to say jab or pokey poke or Fauci ouchie or somebody. Well, I'm not doing that.
That's bullshit.
I'm not doing that. I'm not changing my vocabulary because somebody doesn't want me talking about it. If they kick me off their platform, fine, but I'll just start a new account. America. They're free. I live in America. I'm an American citizen. You're not going to tell me what I can and can't do.
Yep.
So
get involved, people.
That's it.
I don't know how CramerSez can say it. I have heard him rant and rave for a long time now, and he says the same things, and I hope you're listening. And if here's the thing, all it takes is, just like with a grassroots campaign like Charles Bookwalter's, it is one person tells another. It's like the game of telephone, except the game of telephone is generally not accurate. You want to. If I tell you something great, you're more likely to tell somebody else, hey, you might check this out. I have this great, purse I bought.
Right.
I got a great deal on it. You have a way of getting that information to other people. That's what you need to do. You need to talk to each other.
Yep.
God forbid we put down our phones and we actually talk to our neighbors about how they're feeling about things. Are you feeling the same way I'm feeling? I'm feeling like I'm getting hosed. Every opportunity I go to the store, I went to the store today, I had 2 bags and it was $50. And it was basic stuff. It's ridiculous, and it's not going to end until you stand up and start saying, no, I'm not going to do this.
Right.
I do not approve this. Whatever. You just need to get involved. And how I started this whole thing was, I really got super excited with this candidate, Charles Bookwalter. CramerSez does a town hall with him on Thursday nights, and he was engaging so much tonight. It was a great show. I am super proud of him because we've seen him progress. When you're an average dude that is trying to raise your family and pay for shit,
Right.
To all of a sudden go on this camera just like me. This is not my thing. This is CramerSez thing. He
No,
done
it's
this
not.
for
40 years, 50 years.
radio for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
You understand this. Charles and I don't. Charles is really, I wouldn't say mastered, but he's pretty damn close, Tim, don't you think?
Yep.
He did so well in explaining himself. And it's hard to do when you're not an orator. You're not a radio guy, right? He has come so far, and
well, I think it's because
you say it over and over again. You know what I mean?
My point is, what I was going to say is that I think the reason that he's come so far so fast is because he's passionate about what's going on.
Absolutely.
He sees the problem in the nation, and the guy that's currently in office is not the solution to the problem. The reason we know that is because he's been there for 6 years. And has your life gotten better in the last 6 years? I know my life hasn't gotten better in the last 6 years.
District.
Not in the 4th district, it hasn't. So if my life hasn't gotten better here, then he's not doing his job.
Just like Biden. Biden's not doing. It's funny growing up. Who was the it's like kitchen table. They'd say kitchen table politics or whatever.
Right.
So it was. That's what people voted on. What's that saying?
Well, it's kitchen table issues, right? The cost of eggs, the cost of bacon, the cost of gas,
So,
the things that affect us, folks. When I'll give you an example. This guy that's currently the congressman in the 4th, his big issue, he wanted to get numbers stamped on catalytic converters so that if they get stolen, they can be tracked. Okay. The border's wide open. We got a fentanyl issue. We got inflation. That's his
bigger
bill.
Issues.
We got bigger issues, Jim, and that's what you just decide to focus on. Folks, this is all I think about. This is all I do. You can ask my wife.
Yeah.
Is that pretty much all I do?
Yeah.
I'm on the phone nonstop. I'm traveling the nation nonstop.
Trying to make a difference.
Trying to make a difference.
That's what we're all asking. And you know what? Some people, I know you still have to keep your job and you still have to raise your families. All of that I get. Everybody has to do that. Whatever little way you can do that, whether it is donate to a campaign of a candidate you agree with.
By the way, if you feel free, go to bookwalterforcongress.com right now. Give him $20 because he's raised 160. Was it 100? No, 190 some. Okay, well, let me put it this way: all of his money has come from the district. The current congressman...
He doesn't have PACs. He doesn't have lobbies. He doesn't have big companies.
The current congressman has raised $38,000 in the last quarter. In the last quarter, got $38,000. $34,000 of that came from PACs and lobbyists. The other $4,000 came from outside the district. Why are people outside the district giving him money?
To his campaign?
Why are they doing that? It's simple, folks. It can't be all family. Right? It's not friends and family doing that from out of state. It's people that want his attention from someplace else. Yeah. And it's sick and it's gross and we've got to change it. Some people say, well, get all the money out of politics. You can't do that. Even our founding fathers knew that money was free speech. No. Yeah, it is. It's exactly what it is. It's
you put your money. It's just like when you boycott Bud Light.
Right. That's your money working.
Right. You take your money with you.
Yep.
You vote with your money.
A digital sign, for example, or a yard sign that costs $5, somebody has to pay for that. That's free speech. So somebody paying for that yard sign to put in your front yard, somebody donated that so you could have it for free, or you gave $5-10 so you could have a yard sign in your front yard. That's money speaking. That's how it works. Yeah. And that's what our founding fathers understood. We are going to take a break. We'll be right back after this.
America's political prisoners need our help. Kramer Says is on a mission to raise $100,000 or more. Can you help? Join our mission today at CramerSez.shop. Kramer Says is everywhere. Twitter, Truth, Instagram, and always on America's fastest growing free speech platform, Kramer Says Social. Make your free account today at CramerSez.com. You're watching Kramer Says.
Hey, we're back for the second half of the show tonight. We're going to do another half hour here, then we're getting the fuck out of Dodge. Today, there was a big brouhaha in Fulton County, Georgia. Did you see any of that mess? Fonnie Willis causing the problems that she's causing, right? Well, she's down there saying, I'm not on trial. I'm trying to save the nation from a guy that is trying to overthrow, the whole deal. Well, anyway, she ended up making a fool out of herself. I watched a lot of what what Twitter was saying today. I'll never get used to calling it X. What X was saying today, the comments on X were amazing. How well she was doing. She's showing him what a strong black woman she is. No, she shows exactly that she's worried. They were all sweating. There's no reason to get upset. Folks, if you didn't do anything wrong, I posted it today. Innocent people can answer yes or no questions without explanation.
So true. So true.
So you've got to, as you're watching this, Mary, what did you think? You watched it almost all day long. What was your takeaway?
I was riveted.
It was like a soap opera.
It was absolutely a soap opera in a courtroom. I think she came off very badly. I think it was evident. Here she is, an officer of the court, right? Isn't that what they're called? Officer of the court. Yeah. She's the district attorney, and she couldn't follow the rules of the court.
Right.
She couldn't answer yes and no questions. All she could do was she had to explain the yes or no. Well, if you're explaining, you're losing.
That's right. So, by the way, that's an old saying in politics.
Yes.
If you're explaining, you're losing.
That's why I remembered it. Yeah. But I thought it was terrible. I thought she made herself look petty. I thought she made herself look vengeful, which just plays into what everybody has said. She said from her campaign speech to run for DA, she was going after Trump. Right. She was going to get Trump. And I think that, that could be campaigning, whatever. No, based on the way she acted on the stand, she was pissed when she walked in.
Yep.
She was breathing heavy. She was at the court before they'd even called her. How did she know that? She didn't answer that very well. No. We all know she watched the testimony. She listened to it. She was down there. She was hell-bent on telling her truth. Yep. And being a vengeful
Well, that was the whole
woman,
thing. That was
right?
part of it. There was an argument or a big conversation about her not even coming in and not testifying. Her team didn't think she was going to testify. And she storms through the door, and she's going to be the person who solves everything. Yeah. And she really got herself into a pickle.
Oh, she did. She showed her ass.
She wants us to believe, folks, she wants us to believe that she carries around tens of thousands of dollars at any time on her person because that's how she keeps her extra cash on her. She didn't keep it at home. She keeps it with her personally. If I was one of the attorneys today, I would say, well, how much you got in your purse right now? How much you got on you right now?
Yeah.
Can you tell us how much you got on you right now?
Yeah.
My favorite line tonight was when she said that no man pays for me. The only man that's ever supported me fully was my daddy. My question was, when did Wade start calling you? When did you start calling Wade daddy?
Yeah, I loved it.
Because
that's the way it came off. It came off as a joke. It really did. She lied. I don't know how anybody could find her credible. I think I had heard that the judge could find, or he could find, since this is a hearing, that, and you're going to have to correct me, I don't know if I understand this right, but I think I heard that the judge in this hearing, okay, now I don't know if I'm going to say it right.
Well, say what you think you know.
The judge could find that she may not be disqualified, right? Like there's not going to be an answer where she's disqualified, the case gets thrown out for Trump, all of that. They're saying that what the judge could do and what they believe the evidence of today from Wade and Fanny, whatever her name is, that the evidence from today that was shown that the judge could in fact order a more serious investigation, because here, up until now, the investigation has been just with those lawyers that were talking today, Trump's lawyer, the ex-wife's attorney, right? So the judge could say enough was shown today to warrant a real good investigation. An outside investigation. Right.
Now, the question is who's going to do that investigation? The DOJ?
I know.
Do we trust them to do this investigation?
I know. That's
I don't
the
trust
scary
them.
part. But I think there's enough today for the judge to say, this is pretty, if nothing else, right? It looks so bad on that district attorney's office in Fulton County.
Right.
It shows bias. It shows vengeful. I just can't even imagine that the people of that district
one of the
would
issues,
agree with the way she's handled this office.
One of the issues that she said, or she brought up, was that she was renting or subleasing a condo from a friend of hers. That relationship went sour for whatever reason, and she said that her friend would sometimes tell her that the rent was $1,300 a month, or sometimes $1,600 a month, and the way that she dealt with it is whatever they said the rent was, I just paid it. Really? That's how you spend your money? Well, if that's how you spend your money, I can only imagine that you're not going to.
Great point.
You're not going to worry about my money,
right?
Right. If that's how you deal with your money. She wanted us to believe that when her and her boyfriend Wade went out, that they basically split everything evenly, and she paid everything back. And if he paid for a trip, then she paid him back in cash. Why didn't he use a Cash App or use Cash App? Well, he doesn't use that app.
Is she supposed to? Is she supposed to expect us to believe that the head attorney for a county, and I don't know how large the county is, but we're talking about Atlanta.
Fulton County, Georgia is huge.
It's a big area, right? So she expects us to believe that she, knowing what she knows about the law, what I would assume she should know about the law, that she's going to repay something that could look, she's not thinking. I shouldn't pay back my debts with cash because I need a paper trail to show that I have not been inappropriate with this money.
Well, and the thing is that we have to look at is not only was she inappropriate, right? But this is what she tried to say, that it was with anybody else, that she couldn't receive more than $100 from anybody that she wasn't in a relationship with. But that's not the way the law reads. The way the law reads is anybody who would work for you or expect to work for you or expect to benefit from you, right? Benefits. That's the way the law reads. And I'm paraphrasing there, but that's basically what it is. And when you look at that from that standpoint, well, her excuse doesn't stand, because he works for her while they were exchanging these dollars. And if you were wanting to be on the up and up, the best thing to do is
you would be overly transparent.
Overly transparent.
Absolutely. And if you're not overly transparent in government, any position like that,
you're hiding something.
You are hiding something, and you have no business being in that office, because as a servant of the public, you should be as transparent as you possibly can. And she was not. She should not have that office just based on what she's done and how she's handled herself. Everybody makes mistakes and whatever. That's not it. She has.
Well, that's what the conversation was about today on social media. The left was going, they're asking her, a black woman, about her romantic relationships.
Personal.
That's not what they're asking about.
No.
They're asking about the lies and the corruption. Where did you do with the money? And were you in a relationship when you hired this guy?
Yep.
Those are the questions.
Yep.
That
she could
conflict of interest.
She filibustered.
Right.
She filibustered every opportunity. One of the lawyers even said that he was trying to prevent the filibuster.
Right.
And it was funny as the judge, he warned her twice, and he told her the third time, it was going to be stricken, which I don't know what that means. I'm not a lawyer.
Well, it's not going to be on the record. So no matter what she said, it wasn't going to be on the record for anybody else to ever read. It was being taken out of the record.
I would think that would be bad for her. Right. She went in and out of being kind of hysterical, and it was just it looked very
well, again,
badly.
she talks about she had to move out of her place, her home that she was so proud about buying with her hard-earned money.
Well, no, her sweat and tears.
Sweat and tears.
Her work, sweat, and tears.
And then she had been threatened. She had received threats, and so she had to move.
Yeah,
she left her dad in that house that
and
everybody
maybe
knew the address to.
She never did really answer whether or not one of her kids did.
She wanted to. Her dad stayed in that residence that they had the address to. They gave the address apparently in the phone call, or knew where she lived. So her dad stayed in that address, didn't have a problem. Her kids were there from time to time visiting. She doesn't really know if they were there or not. They could have been. They might not have been. They could have been. They could have stayed there for a while. I don't know. Right? So that's what could have happened. We know what happened. She moved out to have some time with Wade. Oh, no, that never happened. That never happened.
Not just to have some time with him, to hide their relationship.
To hide the relationship.
That's exactly what I think they did. I think that, it was always, well, I'm private, he's private. I get that.
Yep.
You don't have to disclose who you're screwing on the side, whatever.
Yep.
But in this case, she did, and it just has to do with credibility and transparency. If there was nothing wrong with what they were doing in any sort of way, money, relationship-wise, whatever, if they did nothing wrong, then why wouldn't you be transparent and disclose?
Why would they hide it?
Right. Why would you hide? You're developing a relationship with somebody that you care about, I would hope.
Well, here's another issue.
So I don't buy any of it.
They kept going to the dates, that she wasn't really romantic with him until January. Well, my question is this. If they're basing that on a trip that they went on, right, that was in January, and that's when she said it got romantic, you're going to take a trip with someone that you're not romantic with, and you're going to share a room with them, a cabin with them at sea for how many days? You're going to do that with somebody that's you just met, you're just seeing, you're just friends? That's what you do with just friends? You bunk together? I call bullshit.
Yep.
It doesn't pass the smell test. And folks, that's what it comes down to in these matters. Listen, I don't know what she's done, but everything that she's doing, all of her actions since are defensive. They're not, hey, come and look at me. Folks, you can come look at my life. I'll tell you about my... Mary says the same thing all the time. She tells me, you say too much. You share too much. I don't care. I'm honest. I'm open. There's nothing to hide. I don't have anything to hide.
Yep.
Except the fact that I really like root beer, and if I drink it, it makes me fat.
Makes you belch.
It makes me belch a little bit. That's one of my favorite things. Is I love artisanal root beers. That's one of my favorite things. Anyway.
Well, and you were supposed to make them. I remember
I made them.
buying
It turned out terrible. Let's not get into that.
Root beer kit, and it's set in the shelf for a couple years.
Well, years.
Yeah,
it wasn't months.
And then you made it, and it was terrible.
So what else was in the news today? We got about 9 minutes here. Let's wrap up. Anything else that you were finding? I didn't get a chance to look at much of the news today, so I was a little bit out of it.
I didn't either because I was riveted by Fonnie Willis and her.
I know
escapades.
Well, and that's it. It's a distraction, folks. While this distraction is going on, they will televise it. They will show you all of this. What else are they doing on the side? They're counting down the clock. This is no different than the Super Bowl. In the last few minutes of the Super Bowl, where everybody's on pins and needles, wondering what's going to happen, and they go to a commercial. Well, the game is still there. That distraction, right? That pays for the system, but the distraction. It grates on you because you want to get back to that game. Well, that's where we're at right now in the country. They've got between now and November 7th. Is that right? November 7th. Is that right? I don't think that's right.
What?
I don't think it's November 7th.
For what?
No, the 7th or the 8th. I can't remember. I know it's May 7th.
Yeah, it's May 7th.
But I don't think it's November 7th. I can't remember. The first Tuesday of November. It's between now and then. And something has to give. You feel it, I feel it, everybody feels it. We don't know if it's going to be revolution, civil war, martial law, a natural disaster that they invoke, or are we going to have these terrorists attack us? We just had this deal with Kansas City. We just had the deal with what happened with the National Archives. We've got the protests going on. We've got the Palestinian issue going on. We've got the Jewish issue going on. We've got the Israeli issue going on.
I tell you all the time, nothing surprises me.
None.
Right, and I think most Americans feel that way. Most everybody is.
So when the thing at Kansas City happened, did you for just a moment think this is it?
Yeah.
It's beginning.
I was scared that this was the beginning of something bigger.
Yep.
Every event that happens like that, I that first thought is things gonna go crazy. Latest article from Gateway Pundit. It says panic. Liberal journal, The Atlantic.
Yep.
Is that pretty liberal?
Oh, about as liberal as they get.
Okay. Says Democrats need to replace Joe Biden now.
Yep.
They're scared.
Yep. Well, the ones I got, I was going through while we were doing Charles's show tonight. Some things that are coming across the news wire. It's interesting. CNN's biggest stars are in for a rude awakening as new CEO digs in. Things ain't going to be the same. It's going to change. It has to, because they're losing money hand over fist, right? The one that got me is insane. The Biden regime sues state of Tennessee over law punishing prostitutes for knowingly spreading HIV. Joe Biden's administration claims that the law violates the Americans with Disabilities Act. They're calling HIV a disability now. If you're a hooker with HIV and you get your guy infected with HIV, don't worry, Biden's got you. They'll take care of you.
Another one for the Gateway Pundit, because I know you haven't been able to check the news. Special Counsel Robert Hurd publicly testify about Biden's stolen classified documents probe as damaging leaks reveal Biden lied about interview.
Yep.
Well, I used to say that's great. They're going to get him, and I hope that's true. I hope they're going to hold people accountable, but time and time again, we've been disappointed. All we can do is continue to hope that one day, the law is going to mean something again.
Right.
So we'll see. But
well, and that's what we've been looking at for the last several years is that the Hunter Biden laptop story and the way that they told it, they lied to you, folks. They barefaced lied to you, and no one's in trouble. Yep. None of these intelligence officials or former intelligence officials have lost their top secret clearance. They're still getting top secret information on a regular basis. There's no punishment, no accountability. And that doesn't change unless you get involved, because the people who are currently involved are not interested in holding anyone accountable. If you want change, you have to be the change. If you want something different, I'll give you an example. You got a shitty job. Your boss is a fucking asshole. You've got two options. Grin and bear it, or do something about it. Go find a different job.
Yep.
It's you. You're in control of your life. And when you say, I have no control, and you give them all the control, and you say, I'm just going to leave it up to them, they will fuck you over and over and over and over again. It's sickening to me. It's sickening to me that the people of Indiana, 80% of them do not vote in the primary, and then they fucking bitch about their outcomes. Yep. They fucking bitch. We don't have anybody to choose from. Yeah, you do. They're all in May. We choose those fuckers in May. If you're waiting till November, you get what the parties give you. That's it. You have no choice. That's where you disrupt the electorate. That's where you disrupt everything, is that they're not they know these numbers. They're not expecting you to come out. You want to make a change? Vote in the goddamn primaries. Get out and make change. Yep. You can do it. Now, the second thing, to answer the question, I'll answer, what was her name? Kim Lowe's question from YouTube.
Oh, what can you do?
What can we do?
Yep.
Okay? We're going to give them one more chance here with these elections. We're going to give them one more chance to get it right, to do the right thing.
Transparent.
Be transparent. Don't hide anything. If you don't have anything to hide, don't look like you have something to hide. Fonnie Willis. If you won, then show us how you won. My bank does that for me. They work for me just like the government does. The government doesn't have any authority over you, folks. None. You have authority over them. You have to quit letting them make you think that they're the bosses. Yeah. That's what bullies on the playground do. They try to make you think that they're in charge, that you've got to listen to them. You don't. Our system is set up where we're in charge. But to be in charge, we have to be willing to nullify their power. There's two ways to do that: through elections and through removing them from office by force. It's happened before in this country. If you know your history, go back and study the Battle of Athens, Tennessee, post-World War II. Go back and look at that story and what happened back then.
Yep.
And it's happened time and time again. These members of Congress that are being investigated, it happened because good people are still out there working, folks. In northern Indiana. I'm sorry, what was that?
I said we just need more of them.
Yep. It's people that step up and do the right thing.
Right, that have spines.
Yep. And to do that, you have to be willing to suffer the consequences of stepping forward. But the price is freedom. Slavery is a choice, folks. The slave is the one that doesn't run. The slave is the one that doesn't fight. They're not the rebels. The ones that leave aren't the rebels. They're the free men, the free women. They're in control of their life. When you let them control your life, you're not free. When you have to ask for permission to exercise a right, you don't have rights, you have permissions. I'm a citizen. I'm not a subject. I will do as I please. As long as it doesn't harm anybody else, doesn't impede anybody else's travel, like being in the fast lane, doing 68 miles an hour. It's a pet peeve of mine. No, move the fuck over. I got places to be. I got things to do. You want to travel at that speed? Fine, knock yourself out, but do not impede my speed. Well, that's the same way in life.
Yep.
As long as I'm not interfering with you, then I shouldn't be bothered. Well, Kramer, you're probably pro-life though, aren't you? Yeah. You're not messing with me. You're messing with another human being that can't defend themselves. And as a person who hates bullies, I think that's the biggest bully thing you can do. I think that's one of the worst things that can happen is that you choose your life, you choose what you want to do, go out clubbing or finish college over the life of another human being. That's what it is. Now, some people will say that I don't have any voice in this and I don't have to get on the subject, but I'm going to finish it up. I have a voice in it because I'm a human being. And murder of any human being is wrong for any reason. In our culture, we've justified it. It's convenience murder. It's a convenience homicide. Here's where it's upside down. You have a child in your belly, and I kill it. I'm guilty of homicide. Now, I know there's a bunch of people talking about this deal with one of Trump's old guys that roofied his girlfriend or his mistress or whatever it was. Right? That's going on. Yeah, he should be tried for murder. If we're going to be serious about it, he should go to jail for murder, for homicide. He doesn't get. I don't care that he's a Republican. What he did was he murdered another human being for convenience.
Right or wrong?
I don't care that he used the morning after pill. I don't care. She didn't know about it. She didn't have a choice in it.
If that's true, then he absolutely should be charged.
That's
absolutely.
Right. Well, it is true. He got 180 days.
Okay.
That's the way it's not a felony. That's how the system works. I don't like it when it benefits our guys either. When it's corrupt, it's corrupt. The difference is I speak out against it. I say it's wrong.
Do you want to, are you wrapping up?
I am wrapping up.
Okay, well, speaking of getting involved and what you can do, have you announced that, I think you've announced that you're running for a local seat?
I am. I don't know if I have on here.
County.
I have on a couple of podcasts. But yeah, I'm running for county councilor, county council at large in Boone County, Indiana. I don't have a website up yet, but I will have shortly. And when I do, I'm going to ask the same thing. Send me some money. I can't fund this all on myself.
Well, absolutely. We can't keep doing that. But, I mean, what do you need? You need, like, some yard signs?
Well, yeah, yard signs.
Like little palm cards.
Yep, palm cards. I mean, it's easy stuff, right?
Right. So it's not going to be anything spectacular. It is a local race. But here's the thing. It's a local race, but, I don't know where you live, but the locals can do a lot of damage to you.
Well, that's one of the things that I get asked, Mary. Why didn't you run for governor? I could win at governor. I don't have any qualms about the governor. Can't do anything. The governor has no power, no authority. They're an executive, right? They're at the top, and all they get to do is sign things, and they get to be a figurehead. A county councilor. Do you know what the county council does? They're the legislative branch of your county. And they determine how much is spent and how much is taxed. They can levy taxes. They can also cut taxes. They can stop spending programs. That's what the county councilor can do. So you've got to know civics and understand where the power lies. And the power lies not in the executive, but in the group that holds the money. That's how you strangle this entire system.
Yeah.
You say, no, we're not funding it. We're not doing it anymore. That goes back to the people. We're not going to tax them for one of your lame brain ideas. We're done. So, folks, I practice what I preach.
You absolutely do.
I don't just go out there and scream and yell at you, and that's why
scream and yell at me.
I scream and yell at her. I scream and yell at her. Get on board. It's time to get on board.
It was fun. I want to
do this again.
I don't know. Maybe we'll do it again.
Okay.
I had fun, and it was like we had a conversation like we do every day, except. You go on rants, which you do when we're not doing this. You go.
Yeah,
on
you got to learn to let me do my rants on lives, though. That's kind of what I do.
I what?
I know you don't like me do my rants. I will go. I'll tell you something personal about us. Is that we'll have a conversation, and then I'll get on a bent, and I will start going through the process where I'm building out a rant, and I'm talking about it, and the thoughts are coming through, and I'm doing it out loud.
Yeah.
And it's the same way that I do it online, and it's the same emotion, the same passion, and she's just looking at me like, what the hell are you doing? There's nobody watching you. I know, but I'm still passionate about it because this is what's going on, and it's a great fucking thought, and I got to keep that. I got to maintain that. And so,
well, it's figuring out how to say it. So, because you are big into the lowest common denominator, so you want to explain it so it's easy because everything we see, read, whatever, the media makes it so freaking complicated or tries to make it complicated, and most things, as you guys know, are not that complicated, right? So don't let them do that. A lot of times you go with your gut, and your gut instinct usually don't ever steer you wrong. Get involved, people.
Get
involved.
Get
That's
involved.
the only reason why I'm doing this, and this is not comfortable for me. This is not something that I've enjoyed it because, he's my husband, and we have this conversation on a daily basis, if not multiple times a day. So this was just kind of an example of what we do every day.
Because we assume that this is happening in your home as well.
I would hope it is.
These same conversations are happening. And folks, you got to stop being afraid of exercising your right. One of the things that I'm big on, I went to Texas. Oh, it's a trap. Good.
I left. You left. And I didn't know if I was going to have a phone call saying your husband's in jail,
Yep.
dead. I didn't know.
Folks,
what we hearing at the border. So it's scary, but you've got to take a stand.
You've got to exercise your rights. And if you're afraid to exercise your rights, like I've said time and time again, if you don't exercise them, then you don't have rights.
Yep.
You only have what you exercise. So, for example, I had to go to a courthouse the other day, and I walked up, and they've got a sign on the door that says code section whatever, you can't take your gun into a courthouse. Okay, so I go back to the car, return it to the safe, lock it all up, get back into the court, walk into the court, and then I berate all of the guys sitting there that had an oath to the Constitution that they're not defending. They're not defending my rights. They're doing what the boss, they're Stasi. They're no different than Nazis. I have a right to carry my arms wherever I go. That's what the Constitution says. Do not infringe.
Why do people that don't break the law or cause a problem, why are we always the ones that end up getting hosed? We're the ones that get our rights taken away. We're the ones that get everything that happens to us. We're law-abiding, trying to live our lives. But yet the criminals are the ones they're the problem. So you take care of them. It's like the bad apple, right? Yep. So I don't get it.
I do. They're corrupt, and they've all got to go.
I know.
Vote, get involved.
Yes,
and by the way, I want to be clear. I'm going to say this one on the closing. If the election doesn't go, if it's not clear, if it's not transparent, if they go to martial law, all bets are off, folks. All bets are off. That being said, we're out of here.
Have to be bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.
America's political prisoners need our help. CramerSez is on a mission to raise $100,000 or more. Can you help? Join our mission today at CramerSez.shop. CramerSez is everywhere. Twitter, Truth, Instagram, and always on America's fastest growing free speech platform, CramerSez Social. Make your free account today at CramerSez.com.